This place is part of your heritage. This place is part of your dream.
People of the Bible are in charge of the land of the Bible.
I feel very strongly that there have been so many times in history when Christians have looked the other way when Jewish people were being attacked.
We will ultimately see the world change.
God's purposes for Israel just march on, don't they?
Shalom. Hello again. Welcome to our new series, Voices from Israel. These are voices that were filmed and taped in Israel, and all kinds of voices, from former prime ministers and the mayor of Jerusalem to ordinary citizens in the streets, visitors, pilgrims, Christians, Zionists, all. Zionists are people who favor the Jews going back to resettle the biblical land, and among those are Christians. Fine, they are Christian Zionists. And with us is Tony Derrick. Tony, you're the guy on the phone at our office anyway when people are going to Israel. How many times have you been there?
Zola, this would have been my 8th time to go. Yeah. And what the people will see in this program is, as you have mentioned, a variety of people that feel their calling to come to Israel, whether it's the Jewish person that's coming back home to their homeland, or the traveler that just senses from God, this is their mission, this is what they should do, this is where they need to be for this particular time. And as the Israelis say, during this difficult situation, is what they call it, the people come and they want to support the people there, the land, and also see it for themselves. Yeah,
you know, sometimes the Israelis say, be ambassadors for us when you go home. And people tend to do that, don't they?
Yeah, how better way to be an ambassador than to have firsthand knowledge, firsthand experience. Yeah. Take those experiences with you wherever you go, because by definition an ambassador is one who goes out in the name of someone. In this instance, goes out in the name of our Lord, the Messiah, into the world to teach those that is the promised land. God chose the people, and through that He brought the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Yeah, among the very first Christian Zionist ambassadors were Peter and Paul, I guess, and the missions to the empire. We're going to go to location now, to Ein Karem. The people, you'll see tired people getting off the airplane, and then they go through the village of Ein Karem. They arrive at Ramat Rachel. Now to location in Israel.
Ben Gurion Airport in Tel Aviv is the primary entry point for those flying to Israel. Whether they're making Aliyah by moving to Israel, returning home after traveling abroad, or receiving a special welcome. These young men singing in Hebrew are waiting expectantly for their friend to arrive. These smiling faces are the first of our arrivals. They've made it to the Promised Land. For some, it's a return visit, perhaps their second or third pilgrimage, while for others, it's a first time, trip of a lifetime. Ken asked for their first impressions.
Did you have a good flight?
Yeah.
Yes? First time to Israel?
Yeah.
How do you feel?
It's exciting.
After the baggage is loaded onto the bus, our Israeli guide introduces himself.
Okay, my name is Ilan, I-L-A-N, Ilan, and I'll be your guide today. Okay, I'll take you to Jerusalem. And we're going to be in Jerusalem in about 1 hour. I'm going to have a short break for lunch in Emmaus first. And I want to wish you all a pleasant visit here in the Holy Land. And I also want to express my deep feeling for your coming in this difficult time of Israel. So thank you all for coming. Okay?
As we're getting underway, we asked some people their thoughts as their trip was just beginning.
Well, I feel very strongly that there have been so many times in history when Christians have looked the other way when Jewish people were being attacked, and that's not going to happen on my watch. That's what I've been telling people about why I've come over. That's the main reason for me to come over here and support Israel.
And you're not afraid of potential problems over here?
No, I think it's part of God's will for us to come over here and give our support, and whatever happens, we're in His hands. So.
After the bus travels to a nearby lunch stop, some of the others give their thoughts about traveling to Israel under less than ideal conditions.
I wanted to come back again from the day I was here before. I someday wanted to come back, and I think now, as much as any time, was a good time to come back to see. I know what the news tells you is not what has actually happened over here, because when we was here in '96, when they went through the tunnel and into the wall, at home everybody thought we was in big trouble, but we didn't even know what was going on over here. We just as peaceful and as calm as can be.
Any other site, just being here. It doesn't matter where, really, just being here. Any place here. Any place here is fine, just plant me. I already told the people at work, one of these days I won't come back.
As we are going up to Jerusalem, our first stop is in Ein Karem.
This is the Church of St. John, you can see now straight ahead.
Today, this small artist colony is almost a suburb of Jerusalem, yet Elon tells us this place has history going back to Bible times.
We're in a very short distance from Jerusalem, about 2 hours walk from the old city. Now this spring named after Mary. I told you that this is the birthplace of John. It's named after Mary. How come it's named after Mary? Elizabeth, the mother of John, was the cousin of Mary. Okay, and when they were pregnant, Mary came to visit Elizabeth here in Ein Karem. Mary came all over all the way from Galilee to Jerusalem to visit her cousin Elizabeth. It's a long way. It takes about 7-8 days walk. And there is a church here in the village that commemorates the visit of Mary. It's called the Church of the Visiting. Okay, so the church was dedicated to Mary, and also the spring of the village is dedicated to Mary.
Leaving Ein Karem, we drive to kibbutz Ramat Rachel, located on the southern part of Jerusalem, overlooking Bethlehem. It's here that we receive the traditional glass of orange juice upon arrival. After checking in, we head for Jerusalem's old city. David's Tower, or Citadel, stands as a landmark at the entrance to the Jaffa Gate. The sights and sounds of Israel begin to weave a tapestry that will be cherished by the pilgrims for years to come.
Okay, thank you, Tony, for that interesting voiceover of the beginning of our trip. We'll see you next week then.
My pleasure, Zola.
All
Thank
right.
you.
You know, on one of these trips, I sat down with Ruth Matar. Now, she's a dynamic personality. She's an American. She's not a young lady. She's has a few years, and she just took it in her heart to be a real promoter of Israel and, if necessary, an opposer of the government in power or of politicians who don't see it her way. And she has become a force. She has founded a group called the Women in Green. They go around in green T-shirts and they carry signs and posters, and it's kind of, the name is a play on the idea of the green line, which is the line between Israel proper and the territories, which is green because the Israelis up to that line have cultivated it and grown grass and crops, and then it's uncultivated from there. So from the air, or even on the ground, you can see a line of green at a certain demarcation. The Women in Green are on the computer. They're really terrific. And as I say, I had a chance to ask her thoughts. Ruth Matar, it's an honor to wear the hat of the Women in Green. Thank you for providing one for me.
This is not just temporary, Zola, that you're wearing it for this program. It means that you're now a man in green and that you have to fight what the Women in Green are fighting for, which is, very simply, the land of Israel for the people of Israel. And the other thing is that tapestry that I have in my living room, which my son and I designed.
Yes.
And that is a beautiful quotation, and that's what we really believe in. It's from Isaiah, and it says, "For Jerusalem's sake, I will not be silent." And that's it. Women in Green are not silent, ever.
No, you're not. I see your editorials, cartoons all the time in the Jerusalem Post. You have a radio program. I have the same tapestry in my living room.
I'm very happy to hear that.
My wife is a Woman in Green, a supporter. And
I'm even happier to hear that.
Yeah. Well, look, this is easy for me. I do believe the land of Israel is for the Jewish people. Wasn't there a group before you called Women in Black?
Oh, goodness, you know, when we first started out, which was actually even before the Oslo Accords were signed, but Mr. Rabin was elected in 1992, and we started to see going downhill. He said, "I'll never talk to Palestinians, I will never go down from the Golan." As soon as he was elected, he started to just do everything that he had said he wasn't going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And we started to small demonstrations, you know, just 10, 12 ladies, whatever, you know, nice
that could be pretty
middle-class,
powerful, yeah.
middle-class ladies, you know,
Yeah.
we
Jewish
were really
mothers,
not the
right?
power then. But then we founded the organization, and the reason we founded the organization was that we went to a demonstration outside of Mr. Rabin's house, you know, here in Jerusalem.
Yes,
And the demonstration was, we did not want him to give up the Golan, because it was never said by the Rabin government, or I am afraid any other Israeli government, but the Golan is given to us in the Bible. 2.5 tribes were assigned to the Golan.
Yes, you mean the Golan Heights, which are mentioned all the time.
It was Jewish all the time.
Yeah.
And our, not the Women in Green, but the government's big mistake, and it still is the big mistake, is to say, oh, we need it for security, or we need it because of the water, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the reason, because then somebody else could say, well, we're going to grant you security, we're going to protect you, whatever. The reason we needed the Golan is because what Senator Inhofe said, because God said so.
That's right.
And that's what we're about. And we are not timid to say that we believe in the Bible. You know, it's not so fashionable nowadays. But we do believe in the Bible.
Pretty fashionable with our viewers.
Yes, I think with your viewers it's fashionable, and I think that's very encouraging, because I think, and I think many people are starting to think in our nationalist camp, that it's a very important alliance between Bible-believing Jews and Bible-believing Christians.
Oh, absolutely. Why would anyone in Israel, anyhow, think anything else except that since this is a Jewish land from time immemorial, from when God gave it to Abraham, the whole world could read that in the scriptures, and the Dead Sea Scrolls verify that that's a very old land grant indeed. Why would I can see why the Arabs see it some other way, and that's what they have always done. But why would a Jewish person standing here in the land say we need to give part of it away? I don't understand how it ever got started.
I've thought about that often. I think it's ghetto mentality, that people who survived the Holocaust, people who came from Arab countries where they were really put down, they were dhimmis, they weren't real people.
Second-class citizens.
Second class, absolutely. And somehow, unfortunately, some of this generation feels that if we only please the Gentiles, they're going to love us. But they're not going to love us for that. In fact, I think they loved us more when we won the '67 war and said we're here to stay.
Yeah, that's true.
And God gave us a miracle. But unfortunately, I think the mindset has to be changed. I sometimes think about the Jews in the desert, and God decided not to let them in when the 12 spies, they went and they said, it's a wonderful land, but they're giants and we can't do anything about them. And so that whole generation, they were not allowed to come in.
Yes.
Because...
that's right, they showed this fear.
I'm afraid maybe that's what's happening to us.
All right, so you're a grandmother, and one of the most potent forces against this government's policies, at least the policies of giving out land or moving settlers and so on. What is your, with settlements, I sometimes think that it's not the Jews that are settlers here. This is Jewish land and always was.
Yeah.
The others are the settlers. So, in other words, in America, when the pioneers went out west, they found Indians. They didn't report to Washington, there's some Indian settlers out here. They were the natives. They knew that. We still call them the Native Americans.
Yes.
We don't call them settlers, and we don't call them. We don't say they're occupying the land.
But
we never said
even the word settlers has become a derogatory term here, a settler, and all over the world. And as I said, I know two places in the Bible where it says you are enjoined to settle the land. The word in my translation of the Bible, it says settle. And something that I often quoted when I spoke in the United States recently, I quoted Leviticus, where it says, this land shall not be sold in perpetuity, which was so on the nail, because that's what we're doing, selling our homeland for whatever, not for money, for a piece of paper, whatever, because the Lord says, the land is mine, and you are just sojourners and settlers here. I love that, settlers here.
For a biblical perspective on what is happening in Israel and the Middle East, ask for Zola's free monthly newsletter, The Levitt Letter. Call toll-free 1-800-WONDERS. Zola's New Kingdom catalog describes his books, teaching tapes, and correspondence course. For Zola's free newsletter and catalog, please call 1-800-WONDERS.
Can you translate this hat for me and for our audience?
Yes, it says, Yisrael halev shelanu. Israel is our heart.
Yeah, Israel is our heart.
Right.
Yes.
So it's perfectly all right for you to wear that hat wherever you go. It's not a radical extremist message at all.
No. Some people here would think so, but...
Yes.
All right, now you have a reputation as a radical extremist. You get it from cartoons that you publish. I love your cartoons that come out in the international edition of Jerusalem Post. Comes to
They're
my
not
home.
extreme, they're true, on the button.
Yeah.
They're true, on the button.
We could show some of those. Your cartoonist, Oleg, is...
Right, a very interesting person. You know, Oleg was a Russian immigrant. He was actually a medical doctor, nose, ear, and throat man. And when he came here, he thought, well, he was taking the exam to be a doctor, but then he thought, I really always wanted to be a cartoonist. So this is my chance. You know, he was always drawing cartoons for himself.
Oh.
And so he submitted some cartoons to the Jerusalem Post. And at the time, David Bar-Ilan was the editor, and he loved all the cartoons,
Yes.
as a lot of us do. Now he lives in Canada. And we, of course, we have a contract with him that he makes a weekly cartoon for us.
Gosh, I wonder if he'd do some for us. David Bar-Ilan introduced me to Oleg one time. Yeah.
I bet he would.
I bet he would. That's a good thought.
I bet he would. He is superb. You know, some cartoonists, they just have the people and you can barely recognize them.
Oh, yeah.
But Oleg, you can see the expression of the face,
Oh, yes,
you know.
Yes, that's wonderful. Let me ask you some of the hard questions I get asked in debates. I know I have liberal Jewish friends. One of them in particular said to me just before this trip, it's fine, it's lovely and biblical, you want to have all the land, etc., but there's a reality here. The Arab people are at least reproducing faster than the Jews. Their population is growing and growing. They live here. You either have to give them a separate nation, or you'll end up constantly trying to subjugate a people which is growing bigger than you are, and in the end, if you make it a total democracy with them included, they'll vote you out of office. If you try to occupy them, they'll outpopulate you. What are you going to do?
What are we going to do? We're going to come to our senses, and we're going to wake up the people of Israel to finally come to their senses. And this is a very temporary reality. What we have to get across to people, that this is the reality, which is a man-created reality of the last century. When was Jordan? When was Egypt? Modern Egypt as a country. This was given out like gifts by the
British
colonial
map
powers,
makers, yes.
you know, France, Britain, like gifts.
Yeah.
You're fighting this sheik and this sheik you're fighting. One can have Saudi Arabia and one can have Jordan. Don't fight, boys. Enough for everybody.
Yeah.
And so what happened? The Jews were shortchanged again
Yeah.
because, you know, Balfour said the whole bit was going to be the Jewish homeland. We chop, 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 and now we have a very small part, and now they want to chop again. Do you know that, I read this in the paper, most shocking thing, that President Bill Clinton had promised Ehud Barak, who is not one of my favorite people, that he would compensate the settlers not only for leaving, but for leaving their houses intact so that the Arabs could move right in. And he promised Ehud Barak, I don't know how many billions of dollars for this scheme. Is that extraordinary?
It's
Have you read
extraordinary.
about that? That is extraordinary. Jerusalem Post, I have made a clipping of it.
Yeah.
I want to mention it on my radio program.
I'm almost befuddled with politics these days. You know, I put out a newsletter, and I was trying to surmise what ought to be done about terrorism at one time, and I got a letter from a military personality who said, "Look, you're no general. Let the powers that be decide these things. They know how to." And he said to me, "You know, when you're really going to contemplate a war, you don't give the enemy any clarity. You keep him guessing and confused." And I could only say, it's not just the enemy that's guessing and confused. I think, you know, I don't understand it either. Ruth, it's been a wonderful discussion. I could talk to you all day. I think I might. We'll just shut the camera.
Oh, this is such a wonderful, wonderful chance to be allowed to talk as much as you want.
It.
But you know, there's one thing I want you to do for Women in Green.
Yes.
I want you to try to obliterate that image that they have given us, that we are radical extremists. We are just a group of grandmothers like myself, and mothers, and young married women, and even young women who are still going to university, whatever. And we have a common goal, and that is to preserve Israel as a Jewish country, as it was promised to us by God. That's our goal. Very simple. We're not extreme, and the people who are trying to make us seem that way, they have an agenda. They don't want to realize that, but they're doing it for a reason.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
if
sure.
they can make people believe that we're radical extremists, they're not going to believe us.
Well, you know, I heard that you have 15 grandchildren. That
Oh
doesn't
yeah, that's another way that we're trying to win the battle.
it doesn't describe the average radical extremist.
No.
Thanks a lot, Ruth, for taking the time with us.
Thank you for having me on your show.
Well, you have to admire Ruth Matar and the women in green. They're not the most popular people in Jerusalem, but I kind of like their views. And they're outspoken, and they're straight to the point, and they're scriptural. It is perfectly scriptural for the Jewish people to settle in the land of Israel. Not settle, but they are owners of the land, to return to it as natives and claim the place. And that's, of course, what she strongly favors. And as far as the green goes, you know, the Lord says, when ye be come into the land, ye shall plant all manner of trees. Our people do that too. And cultivating the land, of course, is an important point in restoring it. Also, to continue the integrity of the land by defending it, by holding it together, by giving what they call in Hebrew hasbarah, good publicity or good news about the land, which our ambassadors tend to come home and do. So next week we'll continue with more of the trip and the voices from Israel. And in the meanwhile, Sha'alu Shalom Yerushalayim. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem.
Our offer on this program, The Complete Idiot's Guide to Middle East Conflict. This 474-page book truly unravels the history, theology, and archaeology of the Middle East. Easy to read and understand. The Middle East Conflict. For a concise biblical perspective of our times, ask for The Levitt Letter, a free monthly update on recent events in Israel and the Middle East. Call 1-800-WONDERS. That's 1-800-WONDERS. Or write to Zola, Box 12268, Dallas, Texas 75225. On the internet, visit Zola's website at www.levitt.com. Zola Levitt Ministries depends on tax-deductible donations from viewers like you.
Sha'alu shalom Yerushalayim, Sha'alu shalom shalom, in the holy city of Jerusalem.